There is a new StarCraft 2 patch. All right, we gotta take a look. I'm gonna pause just for a minute so we can go over this real quick, because obviously this is like kind of a big deal, and I'll be casting some StarCraft 2. So let's take a look. Notes from ESL/Balance Council. Okay, previous patch comments. It's a big effort. Thank you to everyone for working on it. The previous patch goals, some of them were successfully achieved. Other goals related to Protoss versus Terran matchup are yet to be accomplished. Okay. Certain changes originally received mixed feedback from the community and also led to unintentional consequences, particularly the case of Cyclones and Terran versus Terran. So we might need to revisit those. Okay. With the upcoming patch, we'd like to take a more careful approach and focus on fewer goals to improve the current state of the game. The pro gamers involved in the Balance Council feel that the state of Terran versus Zerg and Protoss versus Zerg doesn't require any major balance changes. Okay. Upcoming patch goals. Improve the state of Protoss versus Terran matchup at the professional level. Okay. Mainly accomplished by changes to Terran units. Okay. Address the community concern about the most oppressive openings like Cyclone All-Ins and Widowmine drops. Implement quality of life improvements and the small changes proposed by the map making community to give more freedom to the competitive map design. Okay, so that's the goals. Make some of the all-ins, oppressive Terran openers go away. Make PvT better by changing Terran units. And some quality of life improvements. Okay, so I guess this is the patch here. Advanced ballistics range bonus reduced from 3 to 2. Okay, Protoss struggle in dealing with late game Liberator plus Ghost plus Bio armies. After Terran amass a large number of Liberators and +2 weapons upgrade from advanced ballistics. +2 allows you to two-shot stalkers. It's pretty strong. This change has the side effect of helping reduce uninteractive scenarios where there's often no way for ground units to get in range of a Liberator siege behind mineral lines, and allowing slightly more freedom for map makers and base design for the first 3 bases. That's well said. Okay. Right off the bat, already good. Because there definitely are situations where it goes into some funny place and then Protoss is like, well, I guess I'm not mining there until I get a fucking Phoenix out, and then the Phoenix kills it. It's ridiculous. So this is a very good change, and I love the idea of giving more freedom and flexibility to map makers, because a lot of the map things are locked down because of things like Liberators. Okay, up next, Widowmine. Invisibility while reloading now requires drilling claws upgrade instead of constructed armory. Okay, so it was like that at one point before. Splash damage radius reduced a little bit. Now gives an attack alert to the enemy when burrowing in range of enemy units. Oh, okay. Alert is not given for already burrowed Widow Mines when enemies enter range. This is pretty big. This is pretty big, right? Because a lot of games you'll see in TVP will be like, Protoss doing something on Terran's side of the map, and then Terran just drops Widow Mines off, and then they lose half of their economy in a matter of seconds, and they don't even notice until it says your units are under attack after they've already been hit. So fast pro gamers are going to lose way less probes now in those situations. So that's a pretty big nerf to the Widow Mine. That seems pretty substantial to me. Increased visibility of targeting line and targeted unit. Okay. Meh. I'm not a huge fan of that type of thing, but okay. Address long-standing community feedback about the strength of Widow Mines at all levels of gameplay. We would like to reduce maximum impact of shots by reducing the radius. Has a greater impact towards shots in mineral lines due to how units clump. Reduce game-ending moments when armory cloaked Widow Mines are dropped throughout multiple Protoss bases in the mid-game. Give more opportunity for counterplay through the changes to visual and alerts. Okay, this seems pretty reasonable. And they show what the new visual will look like. That's going to be much easier to dodge. Widow Mines. This is a pretty big nerf to Widow Mines. That is a pretty substantial nerf. Armory, much cheaper. I think that they could just do this very easily because it no longer gates Widow Mines being, invisible. Might open up other interesting things. Hey, maybe we see Thor rushes again. All right, engineering bay, infantry weapon armor upgrades, cost reduced from this to that. So minus 25 of each in the middle, minus 50 of each at the end. Changes to slightly smooth out the transition for Terran into mid-game upgrades, partially offset nerfs to other Terran units, as the other changes are expected to have greater impact in TVP than TVZ. Okay. Cyclone. Weapon cooldown increased. Okay. Lock-on cooldown increased. Oh. Wow, that's going to play a lot differently. Okay, hold on a second. Damage bonus per weapon upgrade increased. Okay. Weapon now has turret tracking, turns faster, remove damage point. Okay, I understand turret tracking. I understand turns faster. Remove damage point? I'm not sure what that actually means. Health increased. Okay, so health up 20. Upgrades are better for it now. It's going to shoot slightly slower. And it's not going to insta-lock onto everything, which means that it won't always be locked on while attacking. This makes sense. It was kind of silly because it was literally always locked on during the last patch at all moments. So now you actually have to wait almost 3 seconds for a new lock-on, which should just affect mostly like the moving shot and range addition. So this is a pretty substantial nerf to the Cyclone, I would say. A little bit of buffing in there, right? All this is a little bit of buffing, but this looks like overall to me, it kind of feels like a nerf, but I'm going to have to see it in action as well. I can't say 100%. After the Cyclone rework in the last patch, the Cyclone has caused problems for Protoss players at the professional level as a follow-up to engineering bay block strategies, blocking the Protoss natural expansion, causing them to have to expand to a further base. As Hellion drop and Cyclone pressure are now both difficult strategies to deal with while appearing similar from a scouting perspective. Cyclones also have been difficult to deal with in early game TVT, causing games to often end up in mass Cyclone versus Cyclone early games and in various all-ins at lower levels of play. All seems reasonable. These changes are intended to make the unit less oppressive in the early game by giving counterplay to lock-on as well as reducing their damage output while making them scale a bit better in longer games through the increased health and improved damage upgrades. In case these changes still don't improve the state of the Cyclone, the option to revert it to the previous state will also be considered. I think that this is probably a very good idea overall. This seems very reasonable. Already, I'm feeling like this patch feels more reasonable than the last few that we've gotten from the Balance Council. Raven. Interference Matrix can no longer target units already targeted or affected by Interference Matrix. So you can't, like, chain them, I'm guessing? Oh, it allows Interference Matrix to be used with rapid fire at the cost of being able to continuously Interference Matrix the same target. Okay. Protoss. Sentry. Damage increase from 6 to 6 plus 4 versus shields. Huh. Light attribute tag removed. Huh. This is a change targeted at the Protoss versus Protoss matchup to slightly stabilize the early game, encouraging sentry openings by reducing the fragility of sentries versus adepts and oracles, as well as slightly increasing their damage output. This is a great change. That is a really good idea. Damn, they're impressing me this time around. Okay, so, like, I mean, right now, sentries, like, you can go sentries in PvP, but, like, they get sniped by adepts really easily. They get sniped by oracles really easily. Here, they're going to deal more damage. And not having that light tag, you know, adepts and oracles aren't going to counter them so hard. That is pretty substantial. That's really good. I love changes like this that help to fix a mirror matchup. That looks fantastic because obviously that doesn't do much to the others. The light tag being removed, I guess, yeah, there's some things that's going to change in the other matchups. Only PvZ comes to mind. I like it, though. That seems like a really reasonable change. Pylons, sight range increase from 9 to 10. Okay. Observer, build time reduced. Oh, that's pretty substantial. 4 seconds. It's almost a 20% decrease in build time. Health and shields increase from 40-20 to 40-30. Okay, a little bit higher health. Model size increased by 10%. Surveillance mode animation speed increased by 75%. Oh, okay. Just some general buffs to the observer. I think that can make sense. You almost don't use observers that much in the later game. Like, you do use them, but a lot of times it gets more down to like oracles detecting for certain situations. These changes are aimed to improve Protoss general scouting and map vision, particularly in early game PvT. I don't feel like there's a lot of observer scouting in early game PvT, so maybe they're trying to get back towards that. But I don't feel like that's actually something you see that often in early game PvT. I don't mind it as a strategy, but yeah. The shield increase will allow for observers to survive the splash damage of a single Widowmine shot. That makes sense. The animation speed refers to how quickly the observer is visually moving while in surveillance mode. So not how long it takes to enter and exit the mode. Okay, I actually thought that it was how quick it enters and exits the mode, which is, that actually would give it like a, you know, that's a pretty decent buff. How visually moving while in surveillance mode. I don't quite understand then what the hell this is all about. But okay. High Templar, feedback can no longer target units with 0 energy. Allows feedback to be used more effectively with rapid fire. I don't like things like this. Okay? It's like, do you need someone to just be like smashing their keyboard? Right? Like smashing their keyboard to get the feedbacks off? Like, I don't know, man. Rapid fire goes against RTS. Yeah, generally I agree. Like, we have rapid fire in StarCraft 2, but like you can't make everything easy, you know? Like, you know that they made it so that you could siege observers, overseers, and shit like that. Like, they made that so that you could F2 attack move and not lose all your observers. They gave the High Templar an attack so when you F2 a move, like all army hotkey attack move, that it won't run into your opponent's army and just die. You know, we see changes like this from time to time. It's just like, do we really need to still be holding people's hands like this? Like, there should be shit that's hard and annoying. Why would you even play StarCraft if you want to be annoyed? All right, Zerg Hatchery Layer Hive. Creep spread radius increased from 12 to 13. This change was requested by map makers to allow for more freedom in designing the natural base layout without causing issues with Zerg wall-offs in the Zerg vs. Zerg matchup. Cool, okay. That's a great type of change. I like that type of change just about every time. If it's going to allow you to make the maps kind of a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, totally down for it. All right, Infestor. Fungal growth range increased from 9 to 10. Okay. Vision range while burrowed reduced from 10 to 8. Okay. Unburrow time increased from 0.36 to 0.71 seconds. Wait. So it's a range of unburrow time. Okay. And they upped the bottom part of the range. So there's a random delay in the range. The unburrow speed. This actually exists for a lot of things, in case people are wondering about that. There's like a lot of things that have a little bit of randomness to them, like firing speed from units. It's like, sometimes it's balance related and sometimes it's like aesthetic related, right? Like if you had all your units fire at the same time and there was no random delay, it would actually look kind of stupid. It would actually look like a cheap RTS. Trust me. All right, let's see what they say about the increased size of moving burrowed infestor visual effects. Infestors visually can be hard to see while moving with the current visual effects, as is smaller than the effect of moving burrowed roaches, and they are generally used individually, unlike burrowed roaches. Terran have struggled in dealing with burrowed infestors, as the time to react to infestors unburrowing and casting fungal growth could be very short depending on a random factor. For anyone who watched I Am Katowice, that was a big part of Maru's loss to Serral, was that exact type of thing. These changes are aimed at moving some of the strength of burrowed infestors to unburrowed infestors, reverting the range nerf to fungal growth from the previous patch. Seems reasonable to me. This is a very reasonable patch, I think. Overlord. Transport Overlord morph time increased by 3 seconds almost. Transport move speed increased. Okay. The changes to Transport Overlords in the previous patch did not create a significant effect on the utility of the unit. And we'd like to bring back a little bit of the strength of harassment lost from the previous Baneling nerfs. Okay, so longer morph time, moves a little bit faster. I can't see anything like really wrong with it. It's like the slowest dropping unit, so it makes sense. Okay, general. Worker attack range increased from 0.1 to 0.2. Reduces the frequency of workers losing their targets when attacking SCVs, which are constructing structures. I want to see one Terran player complain about this shit. And then I'm going to tie them down and make them play Brood War. Worker inner radius. Collision with terrain structures. Reduced from 0.375 to 0.3125. Adjusted footprint size of Vespene geysers. Maintain previous interactions with workers and geysers. Okay. This is worker-only paths. Okay, that's interesting. I like this idea. A worker-only path, right? No unit can get through there because they made them just slightly smaller. Okay, cool. Zerg Rocks. Destructible Expedition Gate 6x6. Now lose HP off creep. Allows map makers to create rocks which lose HP over time, naturally opening up pathways on the map. That's a really good idea. I like that. Damn. Mineral fields can now be destroyed by collapsible rock towers. Very, very cool. Dude, these are great changes. These are great changes. It makes map making more interesting, right? Like, what if you have this opportunity where you're like, you know what? I want to shut down some mineral patches at this base, or maybe all the mineral patches at this base. And then you commit some units to go over and you shut that down, and now the map is different. I like the idea. It seems like a really cool idea. The bugs, we don't really need to look at. Okay, overall, this patch, everything seems really good. Okay, I think that the Liberator thing, helping with map making, as well as making it so that you don't have to get flying units to counter this late game, I like it a lot. The Widowmine, I get it. I get why people want this changed in that way. This seems like a pretty substantial nerf to the Widowmine, especially against Protoss. It definitely feels that way. The visual thing, yeah, we'll see people like, it's just, the Widowmines are pretty heavily nerfed. No question. Okay, armory reduced costs, totally fine. Doesn't feel like it's a super strong building to get. Engineering bay, yeah, they made the upgrades cheaper. Okay, I don't have a strong opinion. A little bit nerf to the Cyclone overall. Makes sense. The Cyclones were kind of stupid. I honestly still think it's one of the worst design units we've ever seen. Just the overall design of Cyclone, like locking on and like then it moving shots and from like a long range. Like the whole idea behind it is like, I feel like anti-fun, you know? Okay, so that's good. Raven with interference matrix. I'm gonna have to see this in play, and because like you have to upgrade interference matrix now, and it's like it feels like we only get multiples of Ravens in TVT, right? And we'll get like up to 3 unless we get super late game, then you might get a ton of them. It's interesting. Like I don't know how much this is gonna change anything. Yeah, the Sentry is an awesome change to change PvP up some. I love it. Observer slight buff. I like it. Pylon, whatever, who cares? High Templar, I'm not a fan of changes like that overall. Making, you know, the change in the creep to make naturals better in ZVZ is awesome. The Infestor change seems very reasonable after watching Cyril vs. Maru. Overlord, meh, whatever. Worker attack range, this is like... I mean, these guys haven't played Brood War. They don't know. So if you complain about that, go play Brood War and then tell me. Cry me a river. You know, that'll make proxies probably slightly less strong. The harassment of the early probe is going to be slightly better. Okay. Making the worker only paths is great. Zerg destructible rocks is great. Mineral fields being destroyed is great. Okay. Mineral fields being destroyed is great. Zerg destructible rocks is great. Mineral fields being destroyed is great. Okay. Mineral fields being destroyed is great. Zerg destructible rocks is great. Mineral fields being destroyed is great. Okay. Guys, that's a good patch. Straight up, that looks fantastic. Nothing seems like it's going to break it. Definitely some help for PvT. I see where they were going with that. My favorite change overall might be the sentry change. I think that is a really high IQ, great change that's going to make PvP more interesting. Dude, I love it. I love it. I think that this is one of the best. This is, I think, the best patch that the Balance Council has made. This is like a David Kim level patch or something. Like, this is legit, like, older StarCraft. We actually have people working on the game quality patch, in my opinion. Like, this is, it's very interesting. It does a lot of things. We can see some better maps. I love it. I think they did a great job. So cheers to the Balance Council and ESL for getting this done. I can't wait. Can't wait to see.